Oh, hey there. Welcome to the Ope-Eh three-way pro wrestling podcast. This is Brandon, joined by my good buds, Donnie and Pierce, on this our 15th episode. Fellas, how we feeling about it? How we feeling in general today?
God damn it.
Soundboard, baby!
Soundboard activate, boys. We're good to go.
This is a new chapter. It's a new chapter, boys. Turn the page.
Yeah.
I would say we're feeling very spooky because on the day this goes out, it's Halloween. So happy Halloween.
Yep.
All Hallows Eve. La Dia de los Muertes.
Yes. All of that. All of that.
Yeah, you guys have been going pretty balls out for it this year. Seeing your costumes and everything was pretty rad. I was actually kind of jelly. Days just flew by for me.
How could you see me? That doesn't make any sense.
Fair.
Come on now.
I mean, for those who haven't seen, the context is Donnie claims that he went to a Halloween party as John Cena with a championship belt. However, with the championship belt holds true. We could at least see that much, but everything else, he could have been a ghost for all I know. I mean,
Yeah, it's a double entendre.
it's just the season.
Yeah.
But Pierce, I'm sorry, I've never seen Dodgeball, so I had to
Why? I defended for him.
I'm sorry, I want to just
That
cancel this.
movie
Race.
is right up your alley.
How do you not know the 5Ds?
5D's dodgeball. Duck, dodge, dip, dive, and
Dodge.
there you go. I went as Gordon, the guy who gets angry. So,
Which is quite the opposite of this podcast. You're the one who gets the least angry.
I'm probably going to be a little angry with what we have to talk about today.
Hell yeah. Sorry, Brandon, I cut you off, but that's a very good segue.
I don't want to take heat off of that. That's hella segue.
All right. Well, today's show brought to you by us. Check us out on social media, of course, X, Facebook. I'm getting more into the habit of replying to Brandon's comments saying that he's wrong. So
him being horny on Maine.
Yeah, so that's fun. Follow along, and you'll get to see some of that.
Lest we forget, we also got us an Instagram page that we got booted up. So if you care enough to find us, otherwise we're gonna come find you.
Do we actually have
and we're gonna follow you
yet?
No, it's gonna be coming up though. It's in the process, so I'll be building.
All right, that's where the reels should go.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Still brushing up on this whole social media thing.
It's okay.
But we'll get there.
It's okay. We were watching
eventually.
Before this, we were watching the show on Netflix. It's called The Influencers. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's just like Marta watches all this kinds of crap on Netflix. It's not for me, but it's right up her alley. Anyways, so it's like these Asian youngish people, where they're all competing to be the biggest social media influencer of the group, and they're like actually famous people, right? Like athletes and streamers and singers and crap like that. And all the social media posts that they tend to do just involve the women's breasts.
No way.
I know. I'm as shocked as you were.
Do you have the boing on the soundboard?
Just kidding. I do not. I have a duck.
Oh, sure. Give it a squeeze. Yeah, we'll go with that.
But funny enough, in the episode that we were just finishing up before I came on here, the woman who had the largest breasts went home because all she showed was her breasts. So for her, there we go.
Oh, wow. Soundboard's going to be a bad idea, isn't it?
The times they are changing.
I delivered it. Be happy.
Yeah, but now you have all the power.
I think you guys can actually pull it up too.
AEW comes up, you're gonna play crickets or some shit.
You guys should have access to it. You never asked me if you have access to it. You have access to it, but now it's my toy for this week, and then you guys can learn how to use it next week.
Oh no, I got it.
Damn it,
Donnie! Why don't you tell me more about influencers?
I already told you about the breasts.
Shut up, bitch!
No.
Hey!
Oh.
Oh, this is going to be a good time. It's
All
a new
right.
chapter, boys.
All right. But today on the show, we're covering Halloween Havoc results from the show that was last Sunday. We all watched it. I think we all watched it. I watched it.
Sure
Yeah, I
did.
missed the first half of the first match, but I did watch the rest of it.
Yeah, that's fine. That counts as watching it. And we'll cover Pierce's favorite show of the year, Crown Jewel. Our predictions for that. And yeah,
Shut up, bitch!
see,
That's my
there we go.
response.
Yeah, it is your favorite show though, so
No, it is really not.
no amount of soundboard is going to change that.
I'm
But
gonna fly up
first,
to Canada.
but
I'm gonna
first,
kick you
for
in
our
the
normal
Canadian balls.
segment, that one comes through really
Hey, there you
loud.
go.
But
Oh.
Pierce, why don't you tell us what happened on October 30th at some point in history relating to wrestling?
So we got some interesting stuff today. 1990, at a TV taping for the main event, the Rockers defeated the Hart Foundation for the WWF Tag Team titles. Or did they? This was one of those like phantom changes that happened. They said it was reverted due to a broken top rope, when in reality it was Jim Neidhart re-signing his contract. And they gave them the titles back after like a week. Like the Rockers defended on house shows for a while, but then they just reversed it, and then the Rockers have never been tag team champs in WWF, but they technically were for like a week.
Okay. Is Marty Jannetty in jail?
Probably.
I know he's done some fucked up stuff. I don't know if he's actually in jail right now or not, but
I heard he's getting a leg amputated.
is he? That's sad.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, like when it rains for Marty, it pours. But like he's been going through some shit lately, man.
He's been going through some shit ever since he got thrown through the glass window, kicked through the
Right.
glass window.
I would say watch his Dark Side episode, and you get to see some fucking crazy shit.
All right, what else we got?
Yeah, I believe it.
2016 Hell in a Cell takes place from the TD Bank Garden Arena in Boston. In the 3 titular Hell in a Cell matches, Roman Reigns pinned Rusev to retain the United States Championship, which is a weird sentence. Kevin Owens pinned Seth Rollins to retain the Universal Championship. And in the main event, Charlotte Flair defeated Sasha Banks to regain the Raw Women's Championship. Famously, this is the first main roster women's match to ever main event a PLE. And in the finish of the match, the final spot was botched twice. Charlotte tried to throw Sasha through a table, and the table just wouldn't budge. And I think it was just that Sasha was too lightweight, but that table just did not want to break.
Must have been one of those Japanese tables.
No, this was an American table.
Man,
American made.
Yeah, the women have some challenges with tables sometimes. I mean, I don't remember that show. I wasn't watching back then. I did want to make a comment of 3 Hell in a Cell matches. What the fuck? Like, that's too many. But anyways, no, they have some problems sometimes where it's either they don't fall through the table because they're not physically hefty enough to do it. I don't know what the right word is there without getting canceled. But they also have a tendency to have issues setting up tables, which is sometimes really awkward. If you look back at some of those, like, no DQ matches or whatever, and there's most of the tiny women have issues setting up the tables, and it takes them a while, and the camera has to pan away, and they got to get the more appropriate tables for their abilities, because we don't need 5 minutes to set up a table.
I agree.
Yeah, sand them down a little bit.
Anyways,
but we're going to jump ahead to 2019. One of the first AEW Dynamites in the finals for the tournament for the inaugural Tag Team Championship. SCU defeated the Lucha Bros. I miss SCU, man. Those guys were so entertaining. I don't understand why they ever broke them up, but they were fun.
I don't know who that is.
SCU is South Carolina or South California
Who were the wrestlers
Unlimited?
in the tag team? Does you
Yeah,
guys
South
even know what
Carolina
it is?
Unlimited. It was Scorpio Sky, Frankie Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels.
Okay. So guys that are now basically locked into ROH. Speaking of ROH,
Kazarian is on TNA.
hi guys. Did we want to have a whole segment for our new ROH World
No,
Champion?
no, not even a little bit. We can move right past.
Shut up, bitch!
Hey,
Not you.
Hey, don't talk to Donnie like that. Yeah.
That is a Canadian legend that you are disrespecting right there.
No, yeah.
Acknowledge the great Northern champion, the learning tree himself, Chris Jericho, for a successful title win last
How
Wednesday
about I
on
talk
Dynamite.
about a better Canadian?
Go
Happy
on.
birthday to the man that gave us the name of this segment, the Rated R superstar, WWE Hall of Famer, current AEW talent, Adam Edge Copeland.
Orangeville's own. Represent.
Yeah.
And
And
if
a
I could,
very good Samaritan as well.
yes, very good Samaritan. If I could, just one more time.
That one's
So
got
good.
some bass to it. Hopefully that doesn't get us copyright stricken. I guess we'll find out.
Please don't.
But hey, what a good guy though. Hey, in light of all that's been happening this week with just lots of shit happening in wrestling, but particularly with Chris Bay, man. Like, shout out to Chris Bay. Get well soon. Prayers for speedy recovery, and hopefully his quality of life's not compromised. But Adam Copeland, man, no one asked, no one expected, but coming through in the clutch, covering $10,000 for his procedures and just for him to pave his path to wellness again. Big ups to Adam Copeland.
It's one of the great Canadian champions. Chris Jericho's another. You got to embrace them.
So what happened at Halloween Havoc, guys?
Yeah, I'd very much like to know that as well. Well, I watched it.
I can talk about it. Halloween Havoc was this past Sunday out of Hershey, Pennsylvania. On NXT's continued trips outside of the Performance Center now that seems to be regular, and their PLEs now are outside of the Performance Center. This was the first Halloween Havoc to take place outside of the Performance Center. But there were 5 matches in all. And I'll just start from the top. The match that kicked off the show. Tony D'Angelo successfully retained his NXT North American Championship by defeating Ope-Eh. The rest of the family got involved at the tail end. Oba got a bit too distracted by them, specifically Rizzo. He seemed to want to put her through a table or something. Didn't, thank God. And Tony D was able to pick up the win. Thoughts on the opener, guys?
Meat can only get you so far.
For everything else, there's a crowbar, which they put to great effect in that match. And that was the way I feel for the family to conduct themselves going forward. Like, I mean, with Tony D being North American champ, I feel like we're due for a good, solid reign out of him. I think the family's going to be at his back if this match was any indication. I mean, and it kept Oba strong on top. When you need that many people and that many foreign objects to topple that man, and after the performance he put on too, like, not just staying strong in defeat, but he performed very, very well in that match. I was very impressed with Oba.
I think both their matches, or all 3 of their matches, they had 3 matches now. Yeah, they've had 3 matches now. All
Yeah,
3 of
it's
their
been a
matches
trilogy already.
have been very good, I think. Tony D'Angelo in the ring is actually very underrated, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The character work, you can, feel how you want about it. Maybe it's a bit too hokey or whatever. But in ring, he's quite good.
I mean, it's very much a character from the golden age of wrestling. Like, it doesn't make sense in today's world, but his character work is second to none. He's incredibly charismatic, and you don't think he would work as a babyface, but he does, and he's very underrated in the ring. I would agree. Oba's fucking Oba. The dude's gonna be one of the biggest stars of the next generation of wrestlers. Like he's just it, man. He's the meat man.
You can thank
Yeah.
the
Still,
next in line program for Oba, not the traditional path that most of the IWC would tell you all wrestlers have to take to be successful.
I mean, there's something to that too with the ID program starting up now. You know,
Yeah.
He's proof that the NIL program works, and most of these people in NXT are. People are saying it doesn't work, but it 100% does. You know, it's the older generation would say that you have to cut your teeth on the independents. That's just not true anymore. The NIL program has worked wonders for NXT.
Absolutely. There's got to be at least a dozen mainstays on NXT television that are a result of the NIL program.
The only one that I can think of that's in like a genuine failure is Gable Steveson.
Yeah, there's been some that have kind of petered out, or people that have been cut as well. Like I went to the recruitment session in Nashville a couple of years back, and there was a couple people from that session that were recruited but just never panned out. But Kalani Jordan was in that, and she's obviously been doing quite well for herself. And there's many more too, even on the main roster already too. Not even necessarily using NIL specifically, but just the college recruitment of Tiffany Stratton and Bianca Belair. I believe Jade Cargill was also recruited that way initially by AEW. I think what that program does specifically.
NIL too.
Sorry?
I think Trick's NIL too, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if he was specifically NIL, but he definitely was a college recruit. He wasn't. He has zero in-ring experience prior to NXT. But I think what it does is specifically for the women's division. We talked about this on our hot take show, but it gives such a lucrative option for female athletes to continue being in an active role, in a sporting role, and make a lot of money potentially, right? Like,
Yep.
You'll hear it all the time that there's not enough, there's no pay equity in women's sports, and there's not, and there might be some reasons for that, but that's not the case so much in professional wrestling. I would argue that professional wrestling is some of the highest paid female athletes on the planet, and if you succeed there, you can easily make millions of dollars a year. There was a report that came out, I believe, last week that said the top stars in the women's division on the main roster are making now just about as much as the men do. So it's big business for WWE, and I think the NIL program has really opened a pipeline to getting the best possible female talent, and they're coachable. That's the thing too. Everyone's like, "Oh man, they didn't pay their dues. They weren't in the ring. They're not. They're not in it for the passion." But these are some of the most physically gifted people in North America. They're all young, and they're all obviously coachable because they've gone through professional sports or amateur sports for ever since they were a kid. So you're getting the best athlete bunch that you can through this program. I think it should continue. And I don't think it hurts to continue recruiting from the indies either, but NIL
and what
to stay. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I've talked a while.
No, you're good. No, I mean, I want to piggyback off of what you're saying. What a testament it is to the success of the NIL program, and to, I think it's a testament to how effective NXT has become as a training ground for your next big superstars. And people want to hype up NXT as like a third brand or what have you. I think it's perfect just as it is. I feel like it's a developmental through and through. I feel like it's the perfect place for your NILs, for your IDs, for whatever, to all kind of come and form this conglomerate of just, right, like you said, extremely talented, athletic people, and just to allow them to kind of, grow with one another and bounce ideas off one another and become people who are worthy of the main roster. So you have at all times, I feel like, an incredibly stacked, group on either Raw or SmackDown at pretty much all times. You're probably, I feel like for the next several years, going to have rosters just chock full of people who are deserving of titles or are deserving of of status, whether that come through merch sales or media appearances or what have you. I mean, WWE's future is extremely bright.
Yep.
And then with the success of the NIL and now with the implementation of the ID program, which is interesting, I feel like this is something that they would have had in place for a while. But, you look at its implementation now and the people who are involved, like, man, like it's going to be a wild. I mean, look, we'll just take a look at the next 5 years as it comes along, but it's going to be wild seeing what's all going to come through that pipeline that you talked about.
Yep. What happens next for Oba? Do we think he challenges Trick inevitably, or the rumors are that he said his goodbyes after Sunday's show? Do you think he actually moves up to the main roster in time for the Rumble, let's say?
Honestly, either or is fine with me. He could be a little more polished, but maybe put him with like a Paul Heyman. Like make Oba the next Paul Heyman guy. And
I don't know if he needs a mouthpiece though. His promos, like, they hit. Like I think he's quite serviceable, I'll say, at his promos.
You know who also didn't need a mouthpiece and was put with Paul Heyman? CM Punk. Sometimes it's just good to have that heater. You know what I mean?
I guess. I don't know. I'm a little surprised that Paul Heyman isn't back on TV yet, but
we'll get there eventually. But
I say after Crown Jewel, we'd probably get whiff of him again. Honestly,
possibly.
I mean, but as far as Oba goes, though, I mean, keeping eyes from the Oba Observatory, as I like to deem it. I haven't trademarked it yet, but again, all things in due time.
Nah, it's that. You got to be the Oba feminist. He speaks to his feminists.
Yeah.
I'm an Oba feminist.
I'm also an Oba feminist.
Hey, I'm not discrediting the Oba feminists. I'm not shamming the Oba feminists whatsoever. I'm just saying we can have fun with this name, boys. And I'm exploring my options here. My Oba option. Never mind, that doesn't work. But no, I think Oba. I would like to see him stay on NXT for a little bit. I'd like to see him kind of, at least for, if nothing else, explore the main event scene on NXT, and then we can see how he does with a little bit more promo work, a little bit different match types. And then, but I mean, if they put him on the main roster, which I could see too, if he's actually going to Raw, I would hope they at least wait until January when it starts to become 3 hours again, because you have so much right now that's just jam-packed into your average episode of Raw. And then where do you fit Oba in that? Like, are you going to make him the 3-minute jobber killer for 2 months until they figure out something to do with him?
That's how you build credibility for a monster on the main roster, pal.
It worked for Braun Breaker, I guess. SmackDown couldn't handle his fetish for jobber killing, so they moved him over to Raw. And then he killed Ricochet, and now look at him. He's Intercontinental Champion.
Again.
Maybe there's something to be said for that.
Could be.
Yeah, for a second.
Maybe Vince had it figured out.
Yeah. Broken clock is right twice a day. And I mean, that's a very broken clock. So let's be very clear on that.
Yeah.
Second match of the show was the tag match, the women's tag match. And Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. Going with Vaquer.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Vaquer. All right. Stephanie Vaquer
Worked for Vic
Julia
Joseph.
Defeated Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. I think all 4 women actually performed quite well in this match. Inevitably, Stephanie pinned Roxanne, which was the absolute correct thing to do, no matter what Brandon tries to tell you otherwise.
Yep, I'd agree. And if Brandon wants to argue it, we have a soundboard to tell him our thoughts.
Oh, so you're not even going to give me a moment to speak? Is this what I'm hearing?
We didn't say that, but we talked about it on the prediction show where I said that
fingers hovering over the button.
I called it specifically where I said the person to take the pin here is Roxanne. And the reason for that,
called it too. I agreed.
Yeah, the reason for that was you have 2 new talent. One of them already lost to Roxanne in Julia. If you want her to lose again, that basically just kills all her credibility. I think Julia would have been the second worst option. And Stephanie, like again, brand new debut, super hot in NXT right now. Who she looked phenomenal, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
So effortless. Like that's the thing that I took away from her in ring work. By the way, just really quickly to deviate on that, is that she makes everything look so easy. So I was super impressed by her. And then you've got
Artist in the ring, man.
and then you've got a returning Cora Jade who absolutely like if Cora Jade was always supposed to be like the next big thing in the women's roster, even before Roxanne Perez, it was Cora Jade was supposed to be like her and Tiffy were like the two like people that were coming up, and Cora just kept getting unfortunate injuries, and now she's back from her second serious injury, and hopefully she's okay and she competes for now without any injuries for hopefully the rest of her career. But and if you give her a loss too, what does that do for her? It immediately ships her down into the mid card where it's not where they want her to be.
It shows her as less than everybody else in that ring immediately, especially coming off injury.
And then you've got Roxanne, who has been dominant as champion since she became champion. When did she become champion again? It's been a while. She's been champion.
Did she get the belt back at? Did she get the belt back in Philly?
I think she may have won it at Stand and Deliver. Yeah, that's when she got it back. Yes. So just want to make sure. Yeah. She beat Lyra at Stand and Deliver. So she's been champion now for 8 months almost. And hasn't even lost once, I don't believe, in that time. She was the one who could have afforded to take the pin. It sets up the future matches. Slam dunk, no debate. You can say what you'd like, but you are wrong.
Well, how about I say this? All right, and you can keep your finger hovering over the button if you want to, but just hear me out.
No, I'll let you play. I'll let you go.
Okay, so
if you go on one of your tangents,
I know, I know it's for me. I know, but no, I think upon further review, honestly, when you consider that both Julia and Vaquer were immediately presented as threats to Roxanne, and both of them have stake in the women's title pursuit, it does make sense to have both of them involved in putting Rox down. But with Stephanie getting the pin, I mean, it gives a one-up on Julia, and it creates intrigue between the two of them because Vaquer already, I mean, we all knew, but Vaquer vocalized the potential of a match between Julia and Vaquer on the road to becoming the top woman in NXT, right? So I guess it kind of adds fuel to that fire. Like, I mean, we're inevitably going to see both Vaquer and Julia either in separate matches or in the same match going up against Rox for the title. So now with Steph getting the pin when Julia couldn't, it raises questions of, well, does Stephanie have a more legitimate claim in this championship pursuit? And is she going to be the next one in line at the next PLE? Like, what are we going to see from Julia? How's this relationship going to unfold? So, I mean, I will say in this case, thinking about it, there was some merit in Rox taking the pin in this case. I guess I'm just used to the formula of the categorically weakest person of the four, that in this case being Cora Jade. But I mean, you look at who she's with.
She's the only other champion in NXT besides Roxanne. You say that she's the weakest. She's been a title holder in NXT. The other two haven't.
With Rox, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
but I mean, that's not to speak anything less of her, right? Like, she's been an NXT Women's Tag Champ, and right, her singles prowess and, prospects have been hindered by her injuries and stuff, which I account for too. But when you look at them all on paper, like Vaquer's, the top luchador, that's been said about her a few times already in the world. And Julia's reputation speaks for itself. She's almost like Asuka tier when it comes to people from outside coming into the WWE. So, I mean, there's that to be said about the two of them. And then Rox, obviously, her legacy in NXT stands on its own. And then there's Cora Jade, who's coming back, and what's she going to do? Who's to say, right?
So
It's been up and down.
You still think that she should have been buried?
Well, buried is a very strong word if you're using that as the
It would
operative
have
term.
been essentially a burial. It would have been, okay, there's one person in here who is not at the level of these other three. They're going to get pinned. It's a very old school way of thinking. Subverting the expectations and having Roxanne take the pin was the correct way to go, because Cora stays relatively strong in defeat, and she looked great in the match.
She did. I think she looked quite a bit better than she normally does, for what it's worth.
Yeah, she didn't look like she had much ring rust on her.
Not at all.
But it's just Roxanne could realistically take a pin, and it's fine. And we'll talk about this when we get into the Saudi propaganda predictions, but
and to the point, right? Like you said, it's an old school way of thinking. That's kind of what I'm conditioned to expect. But in this case, I can certainly see why they went the direction they did. It makes perfect sense when you consider the trajectory of the stories that they're trying to.
Old man.
Yep.
I see you. I'm not even the oldest man here. Sorry, Don.
That was an old man take, though. That was an old man take. Get with the young.
I mean, I guess.
Compared to me,
I'm not old. I'm traditional.
My champions can't get pinned. What the fuck?
All right, Kane, calm down. Go back to Knox County.
Post match, also we had a Azaria appearance. This was not her only appearance of the evening, but she just kind of stood ominously on one of the private boxes.
I would like the meat match of her versus Rhea. I just want to say that.
You'll have to wait, because Rhea allegedly has a fractured orbital bone after the attack by Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez last night on NXT.
How about that? In one night, NXT made that feud interesting again.
It's that damn parking lot.
Lives up 2-1 now when it comes to injuring Rhea.
And
if you count Raquel's injury, it's tied at 2.
And
sure, fair point.
People that are not named Rhea Ripley, which, I'm fine with them wrestling because they're both very good and they have good chemistry, but it's just like, let's give Liv some more wins and give some credibility to her title reign.
Let's give her some different opponents, hey?
Yeah, that'd be nice. But I wouldn't be surprised if that still ends up being the War Games match. Even though it'll be interesting to see how they make that work. Or maybe you could get the NXT 5-on-5 women's, which they've apparently announced for next week in Philly. That match looks like it's going to be great.
One of the most stacked tag matches I've ever seen.
Yeah. Anyone who wants to tell me that the NXT women's division isn't absolutely stacked to the gills, like you're just objectively, like you're just so wrong. They're stacked.
Yeah, at this juncture, nobody would argue that point.
No,
it's undisputable.
Oh, should we move on to match 3, boy?
Yeah. So Ridge Holland defeated Andre Chase in an ambulance match.
I think this was technically a last ride match because it was a hearse.
It was performed as an ambulance match because it said ambulance on the hearse. And it was painted white with a red cross.
But
it was a spooky ambulance.
It last ride match.
Sound logic.
It was a spooky ambulance because it was Halloween Havoc.
Disagree with the dead man.
It said it's an ambulance, therefore it's an ambulance.
Did the Undertaker say that it was a last ride match on his last podcast or something?
No, but he made the last ride match and it was a hearse. It was the same concept, but it was a hearse, and that was a hearse.
It was an ambulance. Did it say hearse on it, or did it say ambulance on it?
No, it said ambulance, but it was a hearse cosplaying as an ambulance. There's a difference.
There were no dead bodies in it, so
of how they're presenting themselves. And in this case, the vehicle wanted to be an ambulance. Therefore, it was an ambulance match. Get woke.
Don't fucking SJW me about an ambulance.
It's the 21st century, Pierce. It's the year of our Lord, 2024, Pierce.
We're bickering about this because the match just kind of happened. It was fine. It needed to
It
be.
did what it needed to.
Yeah, it needed to give some legitimacy to Ridge as a heel. It did that. The match just kind of happened.
And Ridge can move on and
Yeah, we'll talk
do
about what he's
whatever.
going to move on to in a minute. I have
It
some
always is
opinions.
it is nice to see what, a reminder of what Andre Chase is capable of, though. I mean, he's entirely a meme character and a joke. Like, that'll never go past NXT. But, I mean, he was one half of the Bravado Brothers, years back.
You don't
And
think Chase U is going to work on the main roster?
I absolutely do not. It's a
I think
very
It's too
NXT gimmick.
American made.
they get some pops. Like I've been to technically 3 NXT shows, and they tend to get some of the biggest pops of the whole show. And these aren't performance center shows. I'm talking about arena shows that I've been to.
They could work on the main roster.
I think they can.
The
I
main
mean-
roster just needs to take care of tag team wrestling. They'd be fine.
I mean,
Shout out to the Motor City Machine
they'll
Guns.
be mid card, lower mid card. Elevating
Right.
heels. At best, mid card title or tag team title, and that's fine. They're never going to be a headliner, and that's fine. That's not everybody's supposed to be that, but they can be an American made. They can be an Alpha Academy.
Alpha Academy.
Yeah, they can be those kinds of people and do fine. The merch is very wearable. You always see a bunch of Chase U shirts in the crowd. It's
People
just
do that U thing all the time.
Yeah, it's just a fun little gimmick. I think it could work on the main roster. But we'll see if that ends up happening. They could just be used to elevate talent. There's nothing wrong with that too in NXT. Ridge we'll get into in a minute. Next match here, once again, as called by me, if there was going to be a title change, Fallon Henley defeated Kalani Jordan in a gauntlet match where Jasmine Nix was first, JC Jane was second, and seemingly the leader of Fatal Influence, Fallon Henley, was third and won the match and the title.
Happened. Like, good for Henley. It happened. It's kind of my feeling on it.
Yeah, I think she's talented. I think she could probably do relatively well with a mid-card title stint. I don't think it's going to last very long, the way that Zarya interfered post-match. But
No. Sorry, you're gonna kill that woman.
yeah, Zarya's going to break her in half.
Yeah, that seems inevitable. I mean, there's just, right, like you said, there's just so many good women in the division right now. Like, it's really, I mean, I feel like you're going to separate wheat from chaff really fast. It's going to come out. You're going to see like who the real top draws are, the top talents.
And I mean, we got a banger of a match next week with Jada Parker and oh my goodness, her name is on the tip of my tongue. Lola Vice.
Lola Vice.
Yeah. You've got the returning Nikita Lyons, who's doing okay. Adriana Rizzo looks pretty good. Sol Ruka is still just kind of chilling. Like, I could go on and on and on. There's so many talent on that women's roster.
Jordan Grace on her way in, presumably.
Jordan Grace is inevitable.
It's a stacked roster.
Yep.
I thought it was interesting, though.
Oh, Carmen Petrovic. How could I even forget about her? She's from Toronto.
Yeah, what are you doing over there, Don?
I know. We gotta represent
keep your biases in check.
Our locals.
When you got Santino's daughter too, her name's Ariana Grace.
Ariana Grace, yep. She's
doing great character work.
Yeah, they kept her off TV for a while now, though. I'm not sure. Hopefully, she's not injured, but she's been off TV for a bit. So we're all expecting Zarya to probably beat Henley in a pretty short order.
Yeah, I would say in a month.
Do they
Yeah,
have
they
another?
can't keep a belt off Zari for too long.
Do they have another PLE before the end of the year? They haven't announced one yet. So
Uh,
I mean, if they keep it till Rumble weekend, whatever, they can build up a feud.
they do. I'm trying to think of what shows NXT normally has.
well,
Christmas. Crash
There's New Year's Evil off. Christmas Crackdown will be legit. No, but I know
New
they
Year's
have
Evil.
New
New
Year's
Year's Evil.
Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. New Year's Evil. Roadblock. Spring Break In. Yeah, okay. Yeah, New Year's Evil. Okay. Well,
But
that
yeah,
covers
no way
that
they stall
match.
that to January.
And then in our main event, Trick Williams successfully defended the NXT championship by beating Ethan Page. Again, the match was fine, even above average, but I don't know if it was necessarily great. But I need to let's talk about it, the post-match bullshit where Ridge Holland comes out to step up to Trick Williams, and then Bubba Ray Dudley, not Bully Ray, Bubba Ray Dudley, makes the save. And now, after the events of Tuesday, we are having a tag team match with Trick Williams and Bubba Ray Dudley taking on Ethan Page and Ridge Holland. Why is this
In the
necessary?
2300 arena. It's the 2300 arena, man. You look at all the ECW originals that are coming out of the woodwork, coming out of retirement homes in some cases to be a part of the show next week.
Yeah,
I mean,
Francine's gonna be there. Dawn
RVD.
Marie, RVD, who's probably just gonna be in a a ref shirt down in an
yup.
RVD.
And I understand wanting to headline that show with like something interesting, but like to end your PLE with Bubba Ray Dudley making the save, no.
They at least, they built to it a little bit with Ridge
Yeah,
being an asshole.
with Busted Open doing promos between the show where they couldn't even remember the talents' names.
Right.
That was hilarious.
I don't think it needs to happen. It's just gonna be a nostalgia thing, and Ridge is probably going to take a pin that
Hey,
he doesn't need to take.
I think Ethan Page is
Ridge is
probably going
going
to take
through a
the pin. To
table.
be honest with you, I think Ethan Page will take the pin. He's the one who can lose
I
more
mean,
so than.
I think Ethan is probably on his way to the main roster at this point. He really doesn't need to do anything else in NXT.
Yeah, he could take another pin here and save Ridge the trouble there.
And
But
then
like I said, all
wherever
my
he
point
goes,
is that
he's
sorry,
gonna just be incredible.
we'll see. We'll see. They have to give him the opportunity to be that way. But my point is like it's fine to have that match on that show. Just don't end the PLE with a B-list Hall of Famer saving the day. Like it's not what NXT should be doing.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
weird. It's weird seeing a PLE ending with a segue or a teaser of a weekly show. Granted,
Yes.
it's like a special, right? Like it's an ECW nostalgia act again. Like we haven't had enough of those over the last 10 or 15 years, but it's right. It's weird. And honestly too, I feel like I don't know what I expected out of a Devil's Playground match. I feel like I expected more. I mean, especially with like what, Trick and Ethan have been doing to build this over the last couple of weeks, like flexing some creative muscle with, diss tracks and videos and shit. I guess I was kind of hoping for like some more theatrics, I guess you could say, fit for Halloween Havoc, kind of showing off the chops that, both Ethan Page and Trick Williams can bring to the table.
I will say
But
they
yeah, it
tend
just
to
ended.
avoid that on NXT. They don't really do overly gratuitous matches on NXT generally. I can't recall the
Generally,
last
no.
one.
But I mean, if you're going to make an exception, I would have to imagine Halloween Havoc would be like prime soil for that.
Even going
You
back to
know,
the last few years of Halloween Havoc, like there was outside of like creepy haunted house matches, which isn't really what you can do with a live crowd. I think that was more of a thing with the pandemic, but I don't know. Also, shout out Gigi Dolan, by the way, for being back on that show in the beginning. Didn't
I was
mention
very
her
happy to see Gigi again.
as another woman who's primed to be back and hopefully gets a bit better shake this time. I guess she was injured. She was been gone for so long, but overall, I think the show was just kind of okay. NXT certainly put on better shows. Did you guys have any closing thoughts on?
Like I said, I feel like the main event I just kind of expected a little bit more, but especially considering this is kind of like, I presume, the end of Trick and Ego's rivalry for now, anyways. Or, I mean, following 2300, then it'll be probably over, but yeah, it was there.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Ethan's onto the main roster. I kind of want to see him on SmackDown if he goes anywhere. If I were to pick.
That's not how he's going to get his revenge on CM Punk.
I mean, wherever they have that match, I'll be fine. I just kind of would like to see him in a promo with LA Knight. That's just me.
Okay.
That'd be entertaining.
He is a good promo. I'll give you that.
I mean, he could
fucking incredible promo.
He could flex on Jey Uso too after the whole bloodline business has kind of subsided after War Games. It's also potential there.
If he goes to Raw, have him do a small Punk feud, and then I don't know, whoever the baby face is to beat Braun Breaker, Ethan Page would be the one to beat him after,
Yeah, hopefully we get a decent reign with Braun this time.
Yep, I would agree with that. But I think it's time to talk about the thing I don't want to talk about.
Yeah, buddy.
That's Crown Jewel is this weekend. It's Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern. 7 matches on the card, so it's a little different from other B-list shows. I guess those in charge in Saudi didn't want a 5-match card, so they gave them 7. We'll go into these now. They have a weird order for these on Wikipedia, so I'm just going to make my own order for these. First one I got here is a Fatal 4-Way tag match for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair defend against Damage Control, Kairi Sane and Io Sky, Metaphor, Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, who does not have a tag team name. We can rapid fire some of these until we get to ones that deserve a bit more discussion. I think Kairi Sane and Io Sky will win.
Take
a little bit.
What brought you to this conclusion?
I think they need to start splitting Jade and Bianca.
Now?
Why not? What, are you going to wait until the Rumble?
No, it can wait until the December PLE.
There is no December PLE.
Then day one, whatever you want to call it. I think Metaphor wins it there, but they're not going to win it here. I think champs retain.
No, I said Damage Control. I didn't say Metaphor.
Yeah, but I'm saying that next in line is Metaphor.
Okay. I could see them winning too, honestly.
I mean, that's kind of a hot take. I mean, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the women's tag titles are open to women's tag teams of all 3 brands, right? So
correct.
Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Yes.
So, I mean, do we think there's a potential for? I mean, before they inevitably split that team, do we think there's a chance for Julia and Stephanie Vaquer to get a one-off tag run, or do we think they're going to be too involved in the NXT women's tag or women's title picture?
They'll probably
They're
get.
not going to be.
Yeah, they'll probably be in on the main title picture, but at the same time, I think there's more room for some of the tag team women to be shown in NXT. And I'm talking about this out loud a little bit more, thinking about it. Like, there's like next to no women's tag team matches in NXT because there's no
Not
real
anymore.
reason to have them when there's no title there.
Right?
So
Not anymore.
why not give it to Metaphor? Let the title sit in NXT for a bit. They're not really doing
Well, I
a
believe
whole lot in the main
Metaphor.
roster.
I was to say, I believe Metaphor are technically part of the SmackDown roster now, are they not? Or at least Lash and Jakara.
I
think
don't
But, I
believe
mean, they'd
it's
be good.
official. Because Ava was still there when they were discussing the match. So that would imply that they're still on NXT.
But they are a good floater team. So, like, if by some hook or crook Metaphor did win the tag titles, then I mean, you could certainly get more teases from like your Julia and Stephanie's or other female tag teams from NXT that want to vie for a shot at them.
Yeah.
Roxanne
and Cora, Fatal Attraction. What other,
Sol Ruka, Sol and Kalani.
Yeah. If you get a second woman in Chase U, you could easily do that, or a second creepy woman with Tatum Paxley, or there's lots of different ways you could go.
Right.
Which I think is more than what the main roster has, sadly.
I mean, my thoughts on it still stand. I still think Bianca and Jade win. I think it's a little too soon to start the breakup process. I think that's a WrestleMania match they're trying to build towards, and then that would start, if at all, it would start around Rumble time. I feel like I think you get one of them eliminating the other, but not to go too far into it. But
yeah, that's possible.
Kind of.
I just like to see Jade actually wrestle some singles matches.
No, I'd agree.
That's fair.
I think fair. She needs to be showing that she's capable and not just a hot tag option.
Been in WWE for a year now, and she hasn't done she's done a lot, but she hasn't done that much.
She hasn't stood alone. I'll say that.
They want to really train her and make sure she's good to go.
Yeah, I agree. And there's not necessarily a need to rush it. I'm saying they should, but technically they can keep her in a tag team as long as they want. But she has the aura of main event star.
I mean, she had that in AEW. She had that from day one in AEW. Jade is just she has the look and the feel of a megastar. She could be your next Bianca. She could be your next Becky Lynch. Like she is the big bad of the next 5 years for WWE. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right. You guys think that they'll retain? I think we'll see a title change. We'll see what happens. Triple threat for the United States Championship: LA Knight versus Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes. LA Knight's gonna win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Initially, my first take was Carmelo, but they just released a U.S. title replica with LA Knight's symbol all over the strap. So that cements it for me. I think they're going with LA Knight on this one.
I never
the
thought.
The merch speaks for all. But
yeah, I don't have much to say. Probably a banger. Should be fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good showcase for all three guys, for sure.
Yep. Next up is Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens.
Yeah. I don't care.
Kevin Owens should 100% win this match.
Yeah, Kevin Owens is winning.
And
despite Randy Orton begging Hunter for the match. That promo on Friday was interesting. I'm begging you, Hunter. I'm begging you. Give me the match. Don't protect me.
That's another thing too. What
package file driver?
What the fuck does Randy Orton need protection from Kevin Owens for in this day and age?
I
Like,
don't.
what has Kevin Owens done to show that he is that level of threat to Randy Orton?
His trust
Even
was
at
broken.
even as he is now.
His trust was broken. You never break Kevin Owens' trust because he'll break you. That's what Triple H
Oh,
basically
for
said.
fuck's sake! Oh, now we care about Kevin Owens' trust. Oh, okay.
Attacking people without cameras rolling, that's just assault.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. No argument there.
He 100% should win. He should win it with a package pile driver.
He's
Really
not
cement
going
Agreed.
to do that. I know you love sticking to that. It's not going to happen. Especially not to
I'm just
Randy.
saying that if they want to show him as actually dangerous, either have him win with that or have him win with the apron power bomb, and not the fucking stunner. Get him away from the stunner. Get him back to the pop up power bomb because that was the bet. That was such a good finisher for him.
Yeah, I would agree with pop-up power bomb.
At this time, though, I feel like it's viable. We see the package pile driver. I mean, they let JD McDonough do one on some OTT schmuck, across the pond there. That was videotaped, and WWE, I'm sure, has rights to that footage. So then what excuse do we have not to let Kevin Owens do it? It's basically his move. I mean, he was very well renowned for it.
It's not a WWE ring where JD McDonough did it.
I mean, it may as well be. I mean, it's effectively like the Irish developmental for, well, assuming anyone besides Finn and JD make it out for that. But again, I mean, it should be if they're going to repackage Kevin Owens as this mega level threat, they should give him the mega level move. And I think it's crazy that we've seen 2 burning hammers in WWE on WWE programming and not one package pile driver. That to me is nuts. We've seen Canadian destroyers for Christ's sake, but a package pile driver is.
Canadian destroyers are a lot safer.
But my point still stands. Like we've seen these crazy moves that you wouldn't think WWE would permit. Like again, burning hammer. I just Cody Rhodes kicked out of it at 1 for Christ's sake, and I'm not gonna go down that road, but we can't have package pile drivers.
Enough, Brandon.
We can't have package pile drivers though. I don't think it'd be out of the question personally.
I think they need to slowly implement pile drivers in. If they've been doing this slow implementation with the fucking flip pile driver, let's bring back the sit out. Let's bring in the package. They brought out the vertebreaker. Do a slow rollout.
We'll see. I'm not convinced they're going to bring it back, but I am convinced that Kevin's going to win and will likely face Cody at either Saturday night's main event or War Games. TBD. Depends on if they have a 5-on-5 or a 4-on-4 matchup for the men's War Games match.
There's no reason to be 5-on-5.
It's looking like it's going to be 4, unless they can get The Rock for it. It's probably going to be 4-on-4.
The Rock's not doing War Games.
You never know. He just has to sit in the cage for a while, then be the 5th man out.
He's not doing it.
We'll see.
Rock's not going to go balls out. He ain't going to go balls out for a War Games match. He'll be there for intrigue and for sells and shit, but he's not going to go balls out like the other guys would.
Looks like it'll be a 4.
I don't rule him out.
Next match is Seth freaking Rollins versus Big Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed should win this match. If they have him lose, the whole build for him being this monster was pointless.
I agree, but he did come out on top over Seth on Monday, which is usually a bad sign.
I don't care. It's not Vince's WWE anymore. They've had people go out on top and then still win the match since Triple H took over. Bronson needs the win, and he needs to just keep doing comedy murders.
Okay.
Realistically, he probably should have beaten Braun Strowman, but the way that he lost was at least interesting enough because Braun didn't beat him. Seth did.
I agree. I do think Bronson should win. Do I think he will win? That's a different question.
Yeah, I think Bronson should be the guy to do it. I feel like if you stop him here, then like where else does he go? He loses all his legitimacy. I mean, he could try and chase Seth again, but it really would just be like him trying to get a win back, and that's not the way a monster, normally conducts business, right? Like it's just
The way it would work is if this is a story. Monster comes in, hurts you. You try and fight the monster, you lose, you train, then you beat the monster. If he gets beaten, it just takes the story back to chapter 1, which is pointless.
well, and then what's Seth gonna do? It's not like Seth is gonna be like next in line for Gunther, unless that's the route they're going.
Seth can take a loss. He should not be taking losses after the Rumble when they build to him versus Punk. Keep those two as
If
strong
that's what
as
they
possible
want to do.
going into
Yeah, I
Mania.
mean, he could be the one who challenges Gunther because they're going down this. Dominic Mysterio is now in a number 1 contender match for Gunther. I don't think it's Seth who he will lose to, but I just don't think Seth's going to be in that number 1 contender match either. Nor do I think Bronson Reed would be in that number 1 contender match. You know who I think is going to be in that number 1 contender match?
Yes, they do. Go ahead,
His name
Donnie.
rhyme with does his name rhyme with
Dill
Bold
Foldberg.
Gerg
Dill Foldberg. It rhymes with.
Dill? Oh,
I don't know. I was
damn
going.
it!
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be fine with watching Goldberg absolutely destroy Dom. That'd be funny.
I think that's honestly, if you want to have at least somewhat of a reason to give Goldberg a crack at Gunther outside of sticking his nose in the ring, just have him squash Dom, which
Which people would love.
people would love. It can be stupid. That's fine. He can definitely get jackhammered. I'd like to think that Bill Goldberg can pick up Dom Mysterio. Dom will sell it well. And there you go. There's his dreams of being WWE champion, crushed by Bill Goldberg, who will then get crushed by Gunther. Your story writes itself.
And the way that they should do Gunther Goldberg, I texted you guys this. Let's harken back to 2016. The 86 seconds with Brock. Do that exact same thing with Gunther, but have Gunther kick out at 1 and then take Old Yeller behind the shed.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that fast.
I'm saying
Gunther's never won a match that fast. He's not an explosive wrestler.
No.
Goldberg's not getting any younger either.
You were taking this the wrong way. Have the exact same spots. Spear, jackhammer, like the Brock 86-second match, and then have Gunther kick out of it at 1, and then just have him beat the shit out of him for like 5 minutes before choking him out.
When you said 86 seconds, it's like, if you think that match is going to be 86 seconds, you are definitely going to be disappointed.
Gunther has 3 minutes for Goldberg. It should be over in 3 minutes. I'll give it 3 minutes.
It's going to go
because he has 3 minutes for Goldberg. He's stated this already.
The match should be about 5 to 6 minutes, and it should start with that 86-second sprint from Goldberg to subvert expectations once, because you think, oh no, they're doing it, and then having him kick out at 1, and you're like, oh shit. That's how he beat Brock Lesnar. What the fuck's happening now? And then just have an absolute domination from Gunther as the new true badass of the WWE.
I don't think he's gonna kick out at 1. I think you're.
I'm just saying that would be in my eyes. Obviously, I'm not a booker. The correct way to do it, because it subverts expectations twice and it creates good business.
Well, shucky ducky quack quack, you are surely not a booker.
Yet.
But we'll see what happens there. We all think Bronson Reed should win. Let's move on to Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax for the inaugural WWE Women's Crown Jewel Championship. These belts look ugly as fuck.
Just garish as fuck, dude.
Yeah. Way
just like Riyadh.
Yeah. I guess it's on brand.
Cashes in on Nia.
You think so?
Huh?
Yeah, I got a feeling. I think Tiffany is going to try and interfere on behalf of Nia, and it's going to go wrong, and then Nia is going to be pissed off and punch her. And then Tiffany, after the end of the match, is going to give her the old smackaroonie with the briefcase, cash in PME 1, 2, 3.
Now, if this was Vince McMahon booking the show, Tiffany would interfere to make it a triple threat for the Crown Jewel Championship.
And that's stupid. And there's a reason
I
why
mean,
Vince's new entertainment company is going to fail. Because he's stupid.
if not persistent, but I mean, not to give Vince any credit on anything. I mean, just speaking to his history, how many failures he's had. This surely will be another. I mean, in regards to
failures that they're not going to have an HR department, and then people are just not going to join that company.
noted,
If he offered me a big enough bag, I'd join.
I would not touch that company with a 10-foot pole.
I mean, if you can overcome that staple to your resume, then by all means, right?
It's not worth it to me. Anyway,
I would take the bet.
So does Tiffy become the Crown Jewel Women's Champion if she were to cash in successfully?
That's the thing. If she cashes in during the match for one of or both, I guess, whoever she pins, which means she would definitely be winning if she cashes in during the match, because otherwise you're going to have a 2-belt champion, which is very strange. It could be post-match or it could be during the match. I think either way, she takes out Nia, but I don't know if it's going to be Saturday. I'm not convinced.
I mean, I commend them for holding out this long with Tiffany and not letting her cash in. I feel like it's a little too soon yet to cash in on Nia. I feel like she's still proving a lot as the women's champion. I feel like she hasn't had enough competition as women's champion to really validate this new run that she's been on. Right, we still got a Charlotte match down the pipeline if we're talking about Queen versus Queen, that kind of shit. I mean,
much more for her there. SmackDown's women's roster is pretty barren when you have the two of the top talent locked in a tag team.
That's a valid point. I don't know.
If Charlotte's not ready, what do you do with Nia if she wins? If she's still champion?
I think you turn Tiffany.
Yeah, I think you'd have to. So now that I'm talking about it a bit more, yeah, it could be, because if Charlotte's ready, then I don't think it happens yet. But if she's still not ready to come back, I think you got to pull the trigger.
I mean, either way, it kind of sucks, right? Well, right, and then what's left and then Tiffy has her rivalry with Nia for a couple specials or whatever too. But then after that, do they just trade the belt back and forth? Then what's there for Tiffy to do too?
No, then she would have whoever wins the Rumble would probably challenge her.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I think you can take a Nia versus Tiffy feud up to the Rumble. It also keeps Nia out of the Rumble, which they love keeping the protected people out of the Rumble if at all possible. And Nia's pretty protected.
Oh, no. Yeah, and we don't have to have another year of, who's going to throw Nia over the top rope? No one can throw Nia over the top rope.
Yeah, or it took 10 people to throw Nia over the top rope. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Running the Big Show spot over and over again with these big folks in the Rumble.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if that's the way they go with it, then I guess I'm fine with that. I mean, yeah, bring up the point. It's right. There really isn't. SmackDown really doesn't have a hell of a lot of depth in its tag team or its women's rosters.
Nope.
Pretty much
really don't.
Bloodline drama.
Yeah, there's too many that are just lumped into random tag. You have Indy and Candice. They're in a pretty mediocre tag team. You've got B-Fab, who's basically just a manager at this point. Um, Who else is even on that show? Shotzi.
Naomi is, I believe.
Naomi is, but she already lost
Sanaya.
to Nia, and so did Bailey. So those two aren't options.
Meechin lost to
Yep.
Naya, so she's not.
Yep.
I mean, if you build Shotzi correctly, you could do it, but the one time she got a chance at the title, it fell pretty flat, unfortunately. But I think that was more on Ronda Rousey than Shotzi.
Yeah, that doesn't really surprise me. So Tiffy wins or Nia wins.
It's very much a toss up.
There's no
It could
scenario
go.
here where Liv wins, right?
I mean, she
Mm,
could sneak out a victory.
I would be interested to see how they have Liv Morgan beat Nia Jax, unless it's a straight up Tiffany Stratton blasting her in the face with a briefcase.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't see Liv taking a clean loss, at least not where she's currently stationed.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Uh,
I think Tiffy factors in strong no matter what.
I think so. That leads to the other Crown Jewel Championship match: Gunther versus Cody Rhodes.
Gunther, it's not even a debate. Gunther needs this win.
Well, I fail to understand how you guys continually say Gunther needs the win. He does not need the win.
Yes,
He
he
all he's
does.
done is win. He doesn't lose.
Every single time that Gunther and Cody Rhodes have been in a ring together, what has happened?
Yeah, because it was literally the Royal Rumble where it's set up for
Doesn't matter.
back-to-back Mania main events.
Does not matter. Cody's gotten the upper hand. Cody has been booked incredibly strong for the past 2 years, and I'm not saying Gunther hasn't, but to build legitimacy for his title reign and build legitimacy for the World Heavyweight title, Gunther needs the win. Cody can take a loss 100%.
And you can factor in bloodline bullshit too, right? Like with war games on the horizon. I mean, if we can argue that Goldberg's going to involve himself, which it looks like he will because he's booked for Riyadh, it looks like.
He
If
has
he's going to
been
factor
he has
in,
not been booked for Riyadh. That's been
I could have. Has that been debunked? Because I could have
yeah.
sworn I had read about that.
He is not booked for Riyadh.
Who?
I could have sworn
Sorry.
I read about that.
Who are we talking
I
about?
had I
Goldberg.
Oldberg.
I thought he was.
He is
I
not.
thought so too. Well, I'm gonna have to do my research on this one because I could have sworn I had seen a few sources saying that he was going to be there. It wouldn't surprise me if he were. He's kind of been a staple for these events now. But
Goldberg
I
will
mean,
not appear in Saudi this weekend.
I guess my thing is I could easily see him based on recent developments getting involved in for Cody's advantage. So then why not believe the same could be true for Bloodline getting involved to give advantage to Gunther to kind of balance things out. Either way, I mean, I feel like in this case, should rightfully take the W. He's been on this tear, and it's kind of been a theme with him where he's had these challenges to his legitimacy, to his dominance. And Cody, while being a vague entry in this kind of saga, he does have a notable entry in there because Gunther was running that shit all the way back from number one in his Rumble, and then Cody comes out at number 30, I believe it was, and then screws that all up for him. So Gunther's got a chip on his shoulder, and as has been the case with Randy Orton, with Sami Zayn, he's been putting these guys down as he's been passing by them again. I don't think anything should be any different with him and Cody, personally. It may not be a clean as a whistle win, mind you, with everything that can be considered, but I think it's very viable that he goes over here.
I don't understand why you guys think he has to win when he's been winning consistently more than Cody Rhodes has.
It legitimizes the World Heavyweight title and puts it on the level of the WWE Championship. Simple as that.
I don't think it necessarily needs to be. It can be the top title of the show, and it can still have Cody win.
I feel like with Cody winning though, I mean, it seems to be very apparent still that, and it's been apparent for, since they introduced the championship on Raw, that the World Heavyweight Championship is kind of the consolation prize for those who weren't good enough to beat Roman, or by in a more specific measure to win the WWE Championship. So I feel like as whatever opportunities you get to elevate that championship, I mean, especially if it's, Raw's going to Netflix, and I mean, assuming the World Heavyweight Championship is still Raw's title going into that era, I would think you'd want that belt to be on equal footing with every opportunity that you can to showcase it with the WWE Championship.
Yep.
I don't think you need to have continued instances where Cody's taking pins to build up other people when he's champion. He's already done it. Gunther hasn't.
It's a filler arc. It'll be fine.
It's literally
It'll be fine.
this is literally the Goku and Piccolo getting their driver's license of the WWE.
The only way Gunther wins is if Kevin Owens interferes.
That is wrong.
That is not wrong.
It's
Cody
gonna
Rhodes
be
literally
one crossroad,
stopped
two crossroad. He goes for 3, and he
kicks
chokes
out
him
at 1. No, come on.
Not what I said.
Hey, it can happen.
Cody literally beat the biggest champion in the modern era, and you think he should just be losing to the other champion? Come on.
Yes.
No, he shouldn't.
Cody needs to
get. Cody needs to have more wins. Cody's reign has not been very good. Cody's
reign has been great.
I will agree with you on that one.
What was great?
I don't think his reign's been very.
He beat AJ Styles. The match was fine. Nobody cared.
Solo multiple times.
He got pinned by Solo.
Yeah, because of Bloodline bullshit. The Bloodline came in and did what the Bloodline do.
And pinned Cody Rhodes.
It was not a clean win.
The end result.
He still took the L, though.
He still took the L.
Right, and I think it was the right choice. I'm just saying, in this PLE, Gunther should win. And we are allowed to have different opinions.
No, I could hear an argument that you say he should win. That's fine. But you say, like, he can't afford to lose. Like, that's just not true. Because all he's done is...
I think it 100% is. The whole point of Gunther is that he is unbeatable. He has lost one match since being on the main roster. And
one single
until he loses that title, he should not lose a match.
That's boring.
I will say this, though. In either case, like, I don't see either guy losing clean and retaining the same level of credibility that they would have had going into this match. Filler arc, though it may be. I mean, right, like both sides you guys are saying, like, Cody Rhodes' reign thus far has been relatively lackluster, and he needs to reassert himself, especially going into, the latter end of the year with Survivor Series coming up and building up to WrestleMania inevitably. But then too with Gunther, right? Like he is unbeatable. He's a fucking monolith, right? And you do need to build that World Heavyweight Championship. Like it's still got that second tier stink to it that unfortunately hasn't been able to shake since it was introduced.
I don't think that's true at all. I don't think that's true, though. Like, why are we calling it a second grade title when we have people like Seth Rollins fighting for it and soon to be CM Punk like calling it out, wanting to fight for it, and the Money in the Bank winner choosing to cash in on it, right? Like, we're treating the world title as a second rate title, but it's been getting all the attention from the top stars in the company. So how does
Because
that make it a secondary belt?
one title's been around for a year and a half, and the other's been around for 80 years.
Well, no, the current iteration of it has not been around for 80 years. It's been
It
around.
also happens. It also happens to be that all of the best main event stars are on Raw right now. I feel like I said this post draft. SmackDown got fucked by. Yeah, they got absolutely fucked. Like, who was the other guy? I think was like Shinsuke Nakamura was like the only other viable guy I could have seen challenging Cody. So that doesn't do any favors for the WWE Championship and its prestige either. And it's unfortunate to say that, but that's also kind of what it is. It's a product of piss poor placement.
Yeah, like this whole time, these feuds have been not about the title, right? Like he had that little stint with Shinsuke. Everybody knew like there was no intrigue to that. He had those matches with AJ. There's no intrigue to that. He had those matches with Solo. There's no goddamn way in hell Solo Sikoa is remotely close to WWE champion caliber.
And people might have argued the same for Sheamus when he first started winning titles too. I mean, and not to say that Solo is a Sheamus tier wrestler by any stretch of the imagination. He's certainly improved, but it could have been, hey, it could be one of those things we look back at years later and be like, oh yeah, that's where it's all started for Solo Sikoa.
I do think Gunther's going to win the match. I just don't subscribe to the rhetoric that Cody's won enough or Gunther's second tier or any kind of crap like that. That's all I mean.
Oh, you're allowed to have different opinions than me. It's the whole point of the show.
All right. That takes us to our last match then, which was announced after Raw. Roman Reigns and the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso, versus the Bloodline. We don't know exactly who of the four will be in this match, but three of them will be.
I think we know. I think we know.
Bloodline Wolfpack need to win this match.
I'm surprised they busted this nut early. They must have gotten blue balls waiting on that to make that announcement. I mean, it's kind of already spoiled for people privy to the internet, right? But I would have figured this. But then I actually got to build more intrigue for the PLE too, get more eyes on it. So
yeah, and this will give you the Sammy Saudi pop. I think that.
He'll be involved for
now
sure.
Now that he's willing to go back to Saudi Arabia, that the crowd desperately wants. Like Sammy's their guy, right? So Sammy's gonna side with the good guys, and you'll get your War Games match. The Bloodline should probably win because they look like a bunch of losers. Even Jacob Fatu doesn't look all that amazing when he's just getting super kicked over barriers so that the tag team champions lose.
I'm gonna have a bit of a hot take here.
Go ahead.
I think Jacob Fatu should pin Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I think he's already losing some of that initial glimmer. So
I don't know about that. That dude is still the most over person in the Bloodline right now.
Yes, he is. I'm just saying that he doesn't look as unstoppable when he just has
he hasn't wrestled enough. The last time he wrestled was Bad Blood, and he got put through the table.
Yes.
I will say this: I think that the new Bloodline, and it might be a hot take in and of itself, I think it's bringing all four guys down collectively. Solo, Jacob, God. I think they're all getting hampered as a result of this, and ultimately they're going to be proven inferior to the OG Bloodline anyways. And then what do you do with them? I don't know.
I think three of those four guys have some legs to them. Tonga Loa has not looked good at all. I don't think.
Yeah, he's not going to be in the match. He's not going to be in the match.
I think he will be. I don't think Solo's going to be in the match.
You think Solo's going to sit out?
I'm assuming Solo sits out. I don't think you have one part of the tag team in the match and not the other if they're healthy.
And they did that already. So But I think Fatu needs to pin Roman.
yeah, I agree.
I think Roman should not. It shouldn't be Jimmy or Jay getting pinned, especially because both of them have been pinned recently by, Braun Breaker and Solo, respectively. And Roman can take a loss. He's only lost twice in the past 5 years. He can lay down and show Jacob Fatu for the force that he is.
I'm cool with that.
And I mean, Jimmy too has already been saying to Roman, like, he ain't what he was. He's not the same tribal chief. So, kind of a baptism by fire moment, perhaps, kind of getting humbled to kind of make him get back to where he needs to be, build that story up for War Games.
It will
And
be
I
it will be
know-
bloodline fuckery though that gets Jacob Fatu. He's not going to cleanly pin Roman.
Oh, without a doubt. No, it's gonna
And that's
take a
fine.
concerted effort.
That's fine. But I also think this leads to the War Games match. But I also, they said SmackDown was taped last week, and the whole point was Jay saying that you need to respect me. This is bloodline, but we're on the same level. And all Roman did was say yeet. I think Roman's ego, which is still fucking there, is going to be what cost the team the match.
It's possible.
So you're saying that bloodline apology is not, the tribal apology is not coming up this Friday on SmackDown, is what you're saying?
Nope.
Save it for next Friday when Sammy's there.
Or save it for 3 weeks for when me and Brandon get to watch it live.
Think Roman's going to want to come to Milwaukee?
Pretty sure he's already announced, so go fuck yourself, Donnie.
I mean, he's going to get paid to regardless, so he'll be there.
No.
I mean, even if I have to see a simulcast, I don't think he's going to fuck us over with simulcast, right?
The new bloodline needs wins, and it's not credible for Tongaloa or Tamatonga, as much as I love Tamatonga and Tongaloa for that matter, to pin Roman. They could pin Jimmy or Jay, mainly because I'd be okay with GOD versus the Usos, just in general. But to build to the Roman Jacob match, and more importantly, B right now, that War Games, Jacob should 100% pin Roman Reigns. And maybe not definitively, it can be a little dusty, but he should absolutely look like the destroyer he is. And then in a month or so, have him beat LA Knight.
You think LA Knight's going to be? I mean,
Really, Johnny?
Come on, don't do our guy LA like that. You had me the whole way until you said that he had to beat LA Knight, and then sorry, man.
It's a valid point. I mean,
Well, here's my point.
Shut up, bitch!
this is going to be fun.
I don't like using that one on people. I think it's rude.
You said it was going to be used liberally against Brandon.
He's been good this episode. He's been good this episode.
I am trying to keep it a little bit more civil, a little more, maybe not agreeable, but
I'm the one who's been ranting more the last little bit. But to you, to say that Jacob Fatu should beat LA Knight, no thank you.
He should be the one to beat him for the title. I think that makes sense.
Shut up, bitch!
No, that's just
Wayne has a point.
I think that ends the show for. What do you mean? You ask that question, and then we'll sign out here. But
I mean, like, where does Jacob go from? I feel like you got to push Jacob the same way you push Solo. I mean, they've already, teased this tension of, alpha male leadership between Solo and Jacob a couple times. I mean, Jacob clearly loves him some Solo Sikoa, but eventually that's going to come into question.
If he pins Roman, then he should not be going backwards to LA Knight. He should continue feuding either A, directly with Roman, or B, with Cody.
Well, and it'd be a burial to both of them, because you put Jacob Fatu against LA Knight, that's a foregone conclusion. LA Knight's going to lose. And if LA Knight doesn't lose, then what happens with Jacob Fatu? You know, like it's a
I think
lose
it's a match
lose.
that doesn't do anybody any favors there. Not yet. Not if you're gonna have him pin Roman. If you're gonna have him pin Roman, then that's gotta wait.
Yeah, that's a golden ticket you earn if you pin Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Like you pin the tribal chief, the OTC. You don't just go back to the mid card to take a mid card title. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think. Anyways, we're at an hour and a half, boys. This was our high limit for the show. I think we covered everything, though. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about?
If Private Party lose tonight, I will riot.
They may have already.
Fuck the Young Bucks.
Private Party will be a public riot featuring Pierce. I'll support you from afar.
Nothing's happened. Looks like
John Moxley versus Orange Cassidy has been booked for Full Gear.
That'll be exciting. That match I actually want to see.
That's basically it. Apparently, they're also teasing Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong and Adam Cole versus House of Black.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, yes, let's just job House of Black out again, right?
I'm sure Malachi's contract can't expire soon enough, man.
Yeah. All right.
But if we're talking factions, the Undisputed Era is definitely above House of Black.
I mean, at this point, they shouldn't be, but
No, but
that's another podcast.
We're talking all-time factions.
No, we're talking about AEW.
We're talking about AEW. The Undisputed Kingdom suck compared to the House of Black.
Ah, very good. I'm glad we agree.
Yep.
Follow us on socials. You know where they are. We talked about them earlier. That's X. That's Facebook.
Facebook.
Instagram. At some point. Ope-Eh 3-way.
Eventually YouTube.
Yeah, the YouTube thing is going to take more time.
Rome wasn't built in a day, fellas.
Anybody else have anything to say before we sign off? All right. Pierce, send us home.
Well, as always, thanks for stopping into the Ope-Eh 3-way. Beer on us. We'll see you next time.